time to finish off this Mac Classic. Last time I replaced all these capacitors in the hope that that would bring our Mac Classic back to life. And while we did get power running through the system, we discovered that both the 5 volt and 12 volt rails were sitting rather low, and the screen, while it did display, was all wibbly wobbly. We then tried to adjust this little pot here, PP1, as that controls the voltage output of the board, but tweaking that changed absolutely nothing. So I was a bit stumped, didn't really know what to do. If there's one man though that really knows his way around these Mac Classics, that has to be Adrian Black of Adrian's Digital Basement. So I reached out to him for a bit of advice, and he suggested that there still will be electrolytic in this board from these leaky caps, causing shorts and causing the problems. He reckoned if we just give everything a really good clean, that would hopefully fix my problem. So that's what we're going to do today. This is going to be quite labor intensive because to clean this properly, what I want to do is remove more or less everything. This is going to be an awful lot of work, so let's just get stuck in. So even after just removing this cable, the stink of electrolytic is definitely in the air. That only goes to confirm what Adrian suggested. There is leakage on this board. One cable off and quite a few components yet to go. What an absolute pig of a job that was. But that is everything now off this board. The speaker is riveted on, so I'll probably have to drill those out if I wanted to remove it. I might get away leaving it in place. Likewise with this power connector. It's well on here to the chassis, but I could always cut this or melt that off. Doesn't really matter though, because what I want to concentrate on is this. You can see more clearly now the extent of damage from the leaking electrolyte. This is the bunch of capacitors here that had mostly spilled their guts, and I had cleaned, well, I thought I had cleaned the vast majority of the electrolytic off here. But you can see, hopefully on camera, that the board is stained by the leaking electrolytic, probably up around that sort of line there. It does get up around here, down across here and back around that speaker. So nearly half this board, in fact over half this board, has electrolytic spilt on it. In fact, when I was desoldering around here, you could smell the electrolytic, that fishy smell. So safe enough to say the whole board got covered in it. And that is the reason we're still having these problems. What I need to do now is give this board a really good wash. Absolutely soak it in soapy water. So probably best to remove that speaker. And hopefully that will get all this electrolytic off. I'm going to try and remove this nail varnish we painted on last time, just to make sure that we're giving everything a really good clean. And unfortunately there is a little bit more damage down around here. A couple of pads literally just fell off with the solder sucker. Oh well. It's nothing we can't fix anyway, but just goes to show how badly damaged this board was. Time to give it a bath. Everything's been given a really nice clean now, soaked in soapy water, then rinsed down with IPA and a bit of nail polish remover to get rid of all that green we painted on last time. Time to just put it all back together. I am disappointed in myself for causing further damage at this point here, but oh well, it is what it is. In hindsight, perhaps I had the heat too high and that's what's lifted the pads. Obviously with the electrolytic in here as well, things would have been weakened. But, well, it is what it is. Lesson learned. Let's get on and get this back together. So, all the components, when I was taking them off, this is what I did. Stuck them all onto a bit of cardboard and wrote the label beside it for what they are. It is going to be a bit of a jigsaw piece putting this back together, but I think what we'll do is start with the simple stuff and just all the little jumpers. And speaking of which, this is J4. Question is though, where is J4 on this? There it is. So normally I would just use a bit of black PVC tape, but I've seen some people recommend blue tack to help hold these components in place. I don't think the little jumper will fall out, but certainly when we get to some of the heavier components, I think this will come in quite handy. That'll hold that there nicely and allow me to solder it in place. One down, several hundred to go. This might take a while. Well, that was a bit of an understatement. This might take a while. Turned into about 4 days work altogether, off and on. But we do have it all back together now eventually. The speaker is still floating about as this was riveted on originally. One thing I do not have is a rivet gun, so I think all I'll do is a bit of double-sided sticky tape just to hold that in place. We do have a few more new components in here as well. These 3 diodes I replaced just because the old ones looked kind of rough, and these 2 little ICs here have been replaced. These 2 are critical for the voltage regulation, so thought it wise just to replace those while we were at it. Is it going to work though? Only one way to find out. Let's get it in the machine and let's see what happens. Okay, here's the analog board installed. I don't have it hooked up to the motherboard or the hard drive in here, but instead what I'm going to do is use this old IDE drive just as a bit of a load for the power supply. And because I'm chicken, I'm going to turn it on there and then operate it remotely at the switch. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. That's not right. Okay, truth be told, that was a bit of a dramatic reenactment, but here we are about a week later, and this thing was blowing fuses. I think I've got to the bottom of it though, because doing some testing, that diode there and that transistor were both shorted. So that was creating a short between live and neutral and taking out the fuse. The only possible problem though is that this original fuse was 3.15 amp. I don't have anything rated at that and stupidly didn't think to order any. This is just a 2 amp fuse. Surely that will be enough. Right, let's test this board. We don't have to put it into the machine to test it the way I did last time. Instead, what I'm going to do, just to be on the safe side, is use a bit of black PVC tape just to cover up all these various connections that will not be used. We'll hook up our IDE drive to this again, power it on, and hopefully it doesn't explode, and hopefully we have a nice stable voltage. Okay, let's test it. We have the IDE drive hooked up just as a bit of load. Let's see what happens. Drive is spinning up, which is good. What are our voltages like? 5 volt first of all. 4.99. That's pretty good. What about the 12? 11.67. Slightly low perhaps, but there isn't a lot of load on this little board, so that might be okay. At least the fuse didn't explode this time. Right, I think all that's left to do then is get it in the computer and let's see if this whole thing will boot. Everything's back together. I'm feeling so confident. I even connected the keyboard and mouse. Is this going to work? Are we going to get that classic bong? Let's see. Something just went puff. Oh dear, this computer. Right, at least we didn't have the wibbly wobbly screen. But let's get it apart again and let's see what went puff. So it turns out to be this capacitor that went puff. But why did it do that? Well, because I'm an idiot. This has been put in back to front. I don't know what it is with me and this board and capacitors and putting them in back to front, but that's the second one. Let's get it swapped out. At least I do have a replacement handy. Let's put it in this time the correct way around. Let's try that power on again and hopefully this time it will work. Or what else have I put in back to front? Who knows? Anything's possible. Okay, here we go. We got a bong? Does that mean it's working? Welcome to Macintosh. It does indeed seem to be working. And here we are. Our mouse works. That's good. About Macintosh Classic. System software B1-7.0. So OS 7. Is that correct? I really don't know the first thing about Apples. Total memory 4 megabytes. That would make sense, wouldn't it? Because there's 1 meg on the board. Then we have that memory expansion, which has 1 meg on it. Then the 2 SIMs, further 1 meg each. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's just open a notepad so we could test the keyboard. Okay. Hitting return seems to play a funky little jingle. That's not annoying. Yeah, everything seems to be working. But what next? Because as I say, I don't know the first thing about Apple Macs. Anything of note on the hard drive? Virus F, presumably some sort of antivirus software. Flight simulator? Could be interesting. Half of this I haven't got a clue. What other games do we have? Quite a few by the looks of it. to spare. That's rather appropriate for this Macintosh Classic. Right, what have we got? Let's have a quick game of something. Minesweep. Here's a point. How do you play Minesweeper with one button? Oh well. Well, there we have it. One working Macintosh Classic. I'm going to leave it running for a wee while here, just to make sure that it is working okay. I need to try and figure out how to use the disk drive. Wonder could I just stick the likes of an Amiga disk in there? Even just to see if the eject mechanism works. I just have an old Amiga cover disk here. Oh, that's really stiff putting that in there, as if the disk is hitting up against the plastics here. So the floppy drive mustn't be in properly. I'll need to take that out again, have another look at that. I mustn't have put it on that bracket again properly. Just seems to be that side there. That side's okay. That side's really tight. I don't really want to force it in, just in case I can't get it back out. So that's something for me to have a look at in the meantime. But this video is starting to drag on a bit, so I think we'll call it a day at that. And we have one working Macintosh Classic. If anyone has any recommendations for what I can do with this little machine, or for any software to try on it, please let me know in the comments below. But until next time, thanks for watching.